Us via Skype from the United States of America is World Diabetes Advocate Charles Mattock. Good morning, Charles. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. The focus this year is on diabetes and the family. How critical is the conversation around the focus on the impact of diabetes on the family and support system this time around?
Good. Hard to hear you, but I think you mentioned about the support system. The support system is very important. Having someone in our life that is aware of our condition, is able to help prepare meals for us, someone who is able to encourage us, someone who is able to, just be with us along this journey is very key in diabetes. And I'm glad that, some of the points that were mentioned, we're really showing how severe diabetes is. Diabetes takes more lives than AIDS and cancer combined. It's a pandemic, and it's one that we really need to take very seriously. And people who have it need to realize that with just some simple changes to their diet, simple changes to their life, that they can live a good life and they won't have to succumb to some of these terrible conditions.
All right, Charles, let me talk about the issue of advocacy, where you've been very prominent in. Now, there has been advocacy on this issue and awareness creation, enlightenment over the years about diabetes. If you walk on the streets, for instance, how aware are people about the general everyday habits that can, complicate diabetes or even lead to diabetes and all of that?
Yeah, it's very sad that with diabetes being so big, with billions being spent in marketing and advertising, that people truly don't have a really good grasp on diabetes. I was just at an event the other day with a big pharmaceutical company, and people in the room who are very educated and who have good jobs are still not aware of diabetes and what they need to do to combat their diabetes, sad to say. And that leaves the average person even less aware. Since we don't see many commercials or TV ads or things of that nature, and we get a few short minutes with our doctor, if you have a doctor, right? So, healthcare system is not what it needs to be as far as being able to educate the people. And then there's very little other information out about diabetes. And it's very sad, because you know what? This is a real killer, and it does not have to be like that. And as you were mentioning, changing the diet. I'm also Caribbean from Jamaica. And we like to eat things that are high in carbs, high in starch, high in sugar at times.
Charles, still looking at the aspect of diet or lifestyle, talk to us from the point of view of an advocate, what the simple lifestyle changes are that could help someone prevent diabetes or even deal with issues of diabetes.
Definitely. One is sleeping right. Sleep can be a contributing factor of diabetes. A lot of us, because we work so hard, we don't get the proper sleep. Stress is also a contributing factor of diabetes, so trying to eliminate as much stress as you have. Once again, staying away from carbs, starch, sugars, the breads, the rices. Eat a lot of lean meat, fish if you can. Walking is a great exercise for diabetes, and of course, most of the diabetes is found in the gut. So cutting back our body mass index and losing some weight can be an amazing form of helping reduce our potential for diabetes.
By way of education, talk to us about the risk factors associated with diabetes.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. The risk factors are, as she just mentioned, 80% of people with diabetes die from heart disease, which is staggering. So while amputation is a great risk factor, Going blind, losing your sight is a risk factor. The majority of us with diabetes will die of heart disease, and that is something that is, just terrifying to think about. So, one of the things is that you don't feel diabetes per se. So if you eat some sugar, you may not feel sick, but the risk factors are that you could, lose a limb, go blind, or die of heart disease.
All right, away from the United States where you are, here in Africa, a lot of people still have the belief and the thought that there is those who have diabetes, maybe they got it from their parents or from their grandparents, so they see it as hereditary. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. Some of diabetes, obviously, type 1 is genetics. Type 2 is more, they call it a lifestyle condition, a lifestyle disease. It does play some genetics in type 2, but it is something that can be beaten and even eliminated per se with certain changes. But it's not just guaranteed that if your mother or father or someone in your family has it, that it's going to be passed down to you somehow. A lot of it is really lifestyle.
All right, so we need you to break down by way of information again what the difference between type 1, type 2, and the other types of diabetes that abound.
Yeah, like she said, gestational diabetes usually occurs when someone is pregnant and having a baby. Type 1 is when we don't produce any insulin at all, and we need to either take an injection or have a pump to be able to produce the insulin that we need. Type 1. Type 2 is when we don't produce enough, or we're producing too much. So it is, once again, it's something that, especially with type 2, which is the most common, it's something that we can do well with. We just have to really do some research. We have to take our health in our own hands, and not even so much, look for doctors. We have to go and do some research, go online, do some studying, and educate ourselves on diabetes, and we can do very well with it.
All right, talk to us about your personal experience. At the time you were diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 of diabetes, how did you manage it and how did you handle it?
I was diagnosed with type 2. I was blown away and just in shock. I thought I was going to die. I knew nothing about diabetes, and that was the scary part. A doctor actually offered to give me medication, and I didn't take the medication right there. I went home and I started on this journey, which is now taking me around the world. But what I did was I made the lifestyle changes. Number one, I looked in the mirror and I thought to myself, number one, I need to lose about 20, 30 pounds. Not that I was severely overweight, but I needed to lose the weight, and I need to get to my ideal weight. Then I also needed to cut out all the stuff that was in my diet. I was eating a lot of rice. I was eating a lot of bread, a lot of sandwich meat, processed foods, fast foods at times. Even though I went to the gym all the time, I was not aware of some of the foods that I was eating. I was eating, drinking diet soda or juices. Juice has as much soda, much sugar in it as a soda, if not more. So there were just little things that I needed to do to get myself back in line, and reduce the diabetes effects. I've never really been on medication for diabetes, and I've had it for 10 years now, and probably was on medication about one year of the 10, and it was just one pill a day. So I've done well. Done well with my diabetes.
Now, at what point does diabetes get to a point where it cannot be managed?
I think that, all diabetes can be managed. no matter how bad it gets, there's ways to manage it, whether it is medication, whether it's dialysis. A lot of people are on dialysis because of diabetes. So I think that it can be managed. I think the only way it can be managed is when we do pass away from diabetes. So there's always hope. You could always take this into your hands and work with the best professionals, and it can be managed. It can be won, but you have to be serious about this. This takes discipline. We have to be able to have discipline in our lives and really understand that we only have one life, and we definitely don't want to spend it sick with diabetes.
Now, you have dealt or managed type 2 diabetes over the years, and the theme for this year is family and diabetes. Talk to us about the support structure you had and how helpful it was in managing diabetes.
Oh, thanks for having me. I didn't hear all of that, but the best way, was it the best way to help manage your diabetes? Is that what you said?
I'm talking about how important having a support structure, because the theme for this year is family and diabetes. Talk to us about your experience while managing type 2 diabetes, the kind of support you had, and how it helped you walk through dealing with diabetes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of support. I mean, even though, there are great doctors that treat diabetes, like diabetes educators. You have endocrinologists, things like that. I didn't have a lot of family support. It was pretty much just me by myself. Um, and But I did just really just immerse myself into understanding what diabetes is by doing research and studying and reading about it. And I think that's where a lot of us may fall, who are watching this program. We may not have other people around us who understand or know diabetes, but I think that if we really, Socrates says that we should become our own doctors. So if we take our own health into our hands and really educate us. When people have other conditions, they get very knowledgeable about their condition. If someone has heart disease or if they have cancer, they seem to know a lot about what that condition is. With diabetes, we seem to not take it serious enough to really sit down and understand what diabetes is.
All right, Charles, you have been involved in advocacy for several years now, and you have a documentary on this. You also have a show that you run, and now you're planning to come into Africa. What approach are you having, and how are you going to engage in your advocacy when you come in here?
You know what? The show that I created is a beautiful show. We took 5 people with diabetes and we brought in experts in diabetes to really bring them all together to give all the information that someone would need in living their best life with diabetes. So everything from nutritionists, dietitian, diabetes educators, endocrinologists, even yoga instructors to really help educate. So what I want to do is do that same show in Africa. I want to find 5 people in Nigeria who are living with diabetes, bring in the experts in Nigeria that can educate them and really show them how to live with diabetes and how to thrive with diabetes. And a lot of times they don't have that education all in one place. So this is a show that really helps bring all those modalities and people together.
Now, how are you going to ensure that this gets to the grassroots? Because most of these persons also struggle with these things and may not have access to watching the TV show.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I like to do with that is do other events around it. So, I've done this in the past. I've had music concerts, music events with free testing. I've created the first ever diabetes RV van testing unit to go around to different areas in the country to be able to educate people on diabetes. So I think there's going to be a few different ways that we can get people to tune in. And of course, if they don't have television, it's always, you know, something that they can find on their cell phones. And, you know, a lot of people have cell phones, so that's a good thing.
Charles Mattox, thank you so much for talking to us today on TVC Breakfast.